The Tolkien Road, Episode 167, The Hobbit, Chapter 19, The Last Stage. Welcome to The Tolkien Road, Episode 167, The Hobbit, Chapter 19, The Last Stage. Sounds so final.
It really does. Like, really final.
Mm-hmm. I wonder why that is.
Maybe because it's the last chapter.
Well, and it's called The Last Stage.
Yeah. So it's an appropriately named last chapter.
Appropriately?
Appropriately. Yes.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't believe it. I can't believe we're at the end already.
I know. Well, yeah, you know, we definitely took a little longer than we expected because we took that such a long break in the middle. But here we are. Here we be. And I mean, this really represents the end of what we set out to do initially, right? With this podcast in the first place, which was cover those three major works. And here we are, 167 episodes later. That's a lot of episodes.
That is a lot of episodes.
Man.
Dang. And when you think about that, like in terms of hours, and then hours into days, wow.
I don't want to think about it because
Let's not. My brain hurts already. We'll stop there.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. All right.
Yeah. Well, hey.
So
you know, now is as good a time as ever to think about being a patron.
Yeah.
Right. Because this is the end of one thing, but it's
the beginning of so much more
of the future.
Yeah.
Right. Like let's begin to begin, people. Right.
Because now we've checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
Right. We're about to have checked the final box as far as major Tolkien works.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, man,
it's time to take it to the next stage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like
before we were like the caterpillar.
Mm-hmm. And now are we in our chrysalis?
Now
we're about to burst out of our chrysalis.
Well, kind of. We've kind of been in the caterpillar chrysalis stage, and now we're gonna just bust out like a butterfly.
Out.
Right.
Yeah. It's awesome. I like that analogy. Yeah, it's yeah, I feel like we're finally, maybe we can call ourselves legit Tolkien nerds.
I think we were pretty legit Tolkien nerds when we did both the Silmarillion and Lord of the Rings.
Well, maybe you were.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but
okay.
I think I'm starting to get there.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's exciting.
So if you want to join in that excitement and you're just like brimming with excitement, you're like I just feel inspired to give them money. Then
Because they're legit. Mm-hmm.
Then head on over to patreon.com/TolkienRoad
We're legit butterflies.
And give to your heart's content.
Please.
Give until the cows come home. Or until Bilbo comes home, as they say.
Ah, nice. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Clever.
So clever.
You are.
All right. And don't forget to give us that 5-star rating. I mean, now is the time to do all these things that you've been putting off, right? I mean,
you can even do it while you're listening. You don't even have to pause.
Right. Now is that time, right? This is the moment that you have been called to through 167 episodes to leave us a 5-star rating, say awesome things about us.
I really wish we had the March Madness song queued up to go right now.
One shining moment.
It's all on the line. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Which is why we should have had it queued up. Sorry for that really pathetic.
The ball is tipped. That's all I know. All right. The ball was tipped, people.
The crowd screams aloud. You're running for your life.
Yeah.
You're a shooting star. I think I'm done.
It's probably in there.
I'm almost positive it is, because shooting, right? You shoot, and there's stars, so it totally makes sense.
One shining moment, you reach for the stars.
I don't think that's it. Or maybe it is.
That's like,
maybe we'll play it on the next episode.
That's one of the verses that doesn't get onto the, it's like onto the shortened version.
Gosh, I love One Shining Moment.
Well, who doesn't?
So good.
Yeah.
Even if my team doesn't win at all, like I always cry when I see the montage. Always.
I know. Well, there's all the because there's all the team, because only one team wins.
Only one
right?
team.
Out of 68 really, and so there's a lot more crying than there is like celebration. Yeah.
Yeah. So much good. happens during March Madness. It's
the
really remarkable.
And here we are. It's July, and we're talking about March Madness.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, we were talking about shining moments, and now could be your shining moment to be a shooting star.
If you
support the Tolkien Road.
If you give $20 if you pledge $20 per episode, then we will call you personally and serenade you with one shining moment.
Wow.
And it's your choice too. Don't let that stop you from giving $20 if you're
Only if you want us to.
Only if you want us to. We're not going to force you to listen to us.
No.
Do one shining moment because you've already had to put up with that on the podcast, but we'll actually learn it and call you and sing it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or any song of your choice, actually.
Yeah.
Well, most songs.
Well, wait, what?
No, sorry.
There's
Maybe we should have a list.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a list, and they could choose what song we sing from the list.
We could do
like a karaoke
We could
thing.
do like Never-Ending Stories for.
Yeah, we could. That's perfect for Tolkien.
Yeah.
Because his stories are never-ending.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
But
let's not talk anymore about that because we don't.
You
want
can
to
propose
spoil
a song
anything.
to us, and we'll think about calling you and singing it if we're game for it.
If we're game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
No death metal because my throat can't take it.
Yeah. Same.
Fantasy metal, maybe.
Not me.
Yeah.
I'll do country though.
If it's fantasy metal inspired by Tolkien, then maybe we can do that.
I think I'd like to hear that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, like I said last episode, we're kind of recording this in tandem with our episode 166 for chapter 18. So same deal with Latron Prime. Nothing new there. So we're just going to move on. And we're going to jump right into chapter 19.
You're welcome.
The last stage. So when we left off with chapter 18, they were just coming over the Misty Mountains. And, of course, what lies on the other side of the Misty Mountains from Mirkwood? Rivendell, the last homely house, or in this case now, the first homely house, because they're going the other way, right? Now, I do have to take issue with that because Beorn's house was kind of homely.
Yeah, very homely. Yeah, I mean, in a different way, though.
Yeah.
Very much in a different way. I mean, Elves and Beorn, they're like on opposite ends of the spectrum.
If you had to spend a long season at one house or the other, which would it be, Beorn's or Rivendell?
I like more traditional comforts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would go with Rivendell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to argue with Rivendell, isn't it? I mean,
it is. I think Beorn would be fun for a weekend.
Yeah.
But I'm not really an outdoorsy type.
Yeah. Beorn's is like more like going to the lodge, like going to the hunting lodge.
Yeah, it's more rough in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's it's maybe not like roughing it in terms of camping, but it's like
it's just more rustic.
You're maybe sleeping on the floors, and comfortable floors.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And the food's good. And, I mean, there's animals that wait on you, which is cool. That's
very
real cool. But Rivendell's more like the spa.
Yeah.
And if I'm forced to choose, I'm going to pick the spa.
The one drawback is the annoying elves.
Yes, the tra-la-la-la-dee.
The tra-la-la-la elves.
Yeah, I don't know how they keep getting away with that. That just doesn't seem to fit the vibe of Rivendell to me. That seems to me like they should be with, like, that's a wood elf kind of thing.
So I don't think they're as bad this time. I think that, where is it? I'm going back to the song. I was thinking about this. Like, what was the song they were singing last time?
It had tra-la-la-la-dee.
It did have tra-la-la-la-dee in it.
There's a lot of songs in this last chapter.
Yeah, I think the thing about it last time was they were like making fun of Bilbo.
They were making fun, yes. And all the dwarves too, weren't they?
Yeah, but I don't know. I didn't mind it that much this time.
This time is more of a welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they do sing about like more important things. So it's, by the way, they arrive on May 1st. We do learn that. They arrive in Rivendell on May 1st. May Day. And then there's the song of the elves. The dragon is withered, his bones are now crumbled. His armor is shivered, his splendor is humbled. Those swords shall be rusted, and throne and crown perish, with strength that men trusted and wealth that they cherish. Here grass is still growing, and leaves are yet swinging, the white water flowing, and elves are yet singing. Come tra-la-la-lally, come back to the valley. So, I didn't mind this song as much this time. And it has a little bit more of a, an epic feel. It doesn't seem quite as silly as the other one did, maybe. Or maybe I'm over it. I don't know.
You have acquiesced.
I've accepted the tra-la-la-lolly.
You got to choose your battles.
Yeah.
Do you mention this song in your book?
That's
Tolkien's
a good question.
Requiem?
No.
I'm sorry, wrong one.
Tolkien's Overture.
Tolkien's Overture. Dur.
Sheesh.
I know. Sorry, just keeping you on your toes. That's all.
I can't remember. Do you want to...
Yeah, sure. I'll go get it.
Yeah. Go and fetch the book, love.
I'll go and fetch your book right now.
And hurry, this is dead air time. It's not good. I'm really bad at British accents, too. That sounded like German or something like that coming from me. All right. Let's see. I do deal with lots of the music of the elves in a lot of detail. So let's see here. There's the long section on the music of the dwarves. I don't think there's just so much music of the elves.
Yeah.
That I don't really think I dealt much with the tra-la-la-lolly songs because I was just kind of like, there's just so much better stuff to deal with. And you can't, there's so many songs of the elves that it's kind of, it would have made the book twice as long to deal with them all. Yeah,
I can see that.
So.
Oh, well. I thought it was worth asking, regardless.
Yeah, so.
So they're in Rivendell.
They are indeed.
Quite a change from their previous accommodations.
Yeah, most definitely. So, they get to take it easy for a good week in Rivendell, and Bilbo is able to learn what the heck Gandalf was up to all this time, which is, a very significant thing because he wasn't really sure up to this point. Gandalf was just gone for a while, and then he reappeared all of a sudden. But
he always has a way of showing up right when he's needed, which is really cool. I wish I had that property.
A wizard arrives precisely when he means to. Right.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Neither late nor early. He arrives precisely when he means to. All right. So it says he overheard the words of the wizard to Elrond. It appeared that Gandalf had been to a great council of the White Wizards, masters of lore and good magic, and that they had at last driven the necromancer from his dark hold in the south of Mirkwood.
And that's in the movie. Like in the second one, right? All the necromancer stuff.
Yeah. That's so the necromancer is Sauron.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
Now it's interesting they call it a great council of the White Wizards. I don't know if this is supposed to be like White Wizards, also masters of lore, and also masters of lore and good magic, or if it's just white. Because the only White Wizard, of course, at this time is Saruman. And, because Radagast is brown.
Right.
And Gandalf is gray. But maybe they're just generally called the White Wizards.
Because they're the good guys.
But this also doesn't include here Galadriel, who, of course, in the movie, she's depicted. Now, I can't remember at the end of Lord of the Rings if she's depicted there. I don't want to get too hung up on that for right now. But anyway, Gandalf was at a council, and then they had to deal they had to drive out the necromancer from the south in Mirkwood.
Right.
It's interesting to think about how if Tolkien would have told more of that story, and if he had indeed gotten around to rewriting The Hobbit. So.
Yeah. I wonder.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was writing this as for a younger audience, but I guess if he was going to rewrite it, it would have been probably for a broader audience. Yeah. If he was going to rewrite it in the style of Lord of the Rings, so I bet he would have. Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway, that's where Gandalf has been.
Okay.
And mission accomplished. They drove out the necromancer from Mirkwood. So, good stuff.
Absolutely.
And then
there's more elf music.
More elf music. This one's a little, doesn't have any tra-la-lollies in it. Sing all ye joyful, now sing all together. The wind's in the treetop, the wind's in the heather. The stars are in blossom, the moon is in flower, and bright are the windows of night in her tower. This is good stuff.
It is. It's really, really good. Yeah. I tried singing it. That first line made me think of that, like the Ode to Joy thing. The Sing Ye Joyful. And I tried to sing it to the Ode to Joy.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. No. Yeah. I figured that out pretty quickly.
Sing all ye joyful, now sing all together. Now sing all together. Yeah. Yeah, it's like 11 syllables.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But, it's a beautiful song for sure.
Yeah.
But it's funny that they call it a lullaby, and then Bilbo's like, What time by the moon is this? Your lullaby would waken a drunken goblin. So I don't think Bilbo considers it much of a lullaby.
Yeah, Bilbo, I think, is, maybe he's just feeling a little grumpy. He needs some sleep.
Yeah, he is. But then the elves, they waste no time.
And then the Tralalalali elves are like, sounds like somebody needs to take a nap.
Yeah. Sounds like somebody has a case of the Mondays.
Sounds like somebody's been off on a long journey.
Needs some sleep, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the elves give him a hard time about how loud his snores. He says your snores would waken a stone dragon.
Ooh, boom.
So some little bit of banter going on. I like that. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Elves
insults. There should have been like 2 pages of just an insult war between the Tralalali elves and Bilbo in this chapter.
It would have balanced out the riddles perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're
Totally.
going to have a riddle battle, we should have an insult battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if Tolkien would have done that in his rewrite.
Bilbo's all like, well, tralala folly.
Yeah. Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I win.
You do. You win.
All right. And they're like, oh, got burned. Okay. Yeah. So.
But Bilbo is eventually refreshed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Rivendell does to you.
It does.
Refreshes the soul and the body.
It does.
And the spirit.
For the long journey ahead. So they stay about a week, and then it's time to take off on the last leg of the journey home back to the Shire. So
yeah, they don't stay very long at Rivendell.
No.
It's interesting to me that they stayed so... Well, maybe they stayed longer at Bjorn's because it was like winter time.
It was winter, yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't want to travel in the cold. So that makes sense.
Especially since they were going over the mountains, right?
Right, yeah, that's true. And I think Bilbo's probably just growing ever more anxious to get home.
Yeah, definitely. I think it says that, in fact. But there's still good long road, and it's a journey through good portion of the wild. They cross over the river, and I can't remember the name of the river. What is that? It's called the. It's not coming to me. It's the one, of course, where same river as in at the end of Book 1 of Lord of the Rings.
Did they cross the same river on the way out to the Lonely Mountain?
Yeah, they would
did.
have.
Yeah, they would have. Yeah.
Yeah.
And something significant? Was that right before, or right after they met the trolls?
That was right after they met. It would have been after they met the trolls.
Okay.
Because they come back to the place where they met the trolls. Gandalf and Bilbo do right here, and it says, where is it? Oh yeah, here we go. He quickly noted the place where the pony had fallen in the river, and they had turned aside for their nasty adventure with Tom and Bert and Bill.
Oh right, yes, okay.
Not far from the road, they found the gold of the trolls, which they had buried, still hidden and untouched. Bilbo digs it up and gives it to Gandalf. He says, I dare say you can find a use for it. Gandalf says, indeed I can, but you may want to take some for yourself, which I think is meant to be a little... I think Gandalf knows that Bilbo is going to come back to a little bit of a rude surprise when he reaches home.
How could Gandalf know that? Just because he's a wizard and he maybe looked into his magic ball.
Well, no, but he has little messengers that come to him and things like that, right? He's got his spies, right?
That's true.
He probably wants to know. He's probably like, what is awaiting Bilbo when we arrive back, just so I can prepare him, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah,
because they're almost to the point we get back to the Shire, and lo and behold, actually we'll get there, but there is a little bit of a rude awakening, rude surprise for Bilbo when he arrives back. But
yes,
let's talk about. So he gets close. They journey through the wild, and they finally arrive back in June, and he starts to see the familiar landscape of the Shire, and spontaneously he starts saying, roads go ever on, over rock and under tree, by caves where never sun has shone, by streams that never find the sea, over snow by winter sown, and through the merry flowers of June, over grass and over stone, and under mountains in the moon. So, the first, I believe the first instance of the road goes ever on song. So,
and Gandalf's response is, "My dear Bilbo, something is the matter with you. You are not the hobbit that you were."
Right.
What do you think he means by that? Is he just more like more the song, it's obviously the song is very thoughtful. It's very it's not, maybe it's not your typical Hobbit tune.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a little bit more melancholy than other songs have been, but I don't know. I was wondering, because there wasn't anything that really jumped out at me in the song that would be like, oh my gosh, Bilbo's a totally different person.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess Gandalf knows him better. So
yeah, I think he's just deeper now, right?
Just more an appreciation for. I mean, he's seen so much and been through so much.
Right. He appreciates home in a new way now, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But he doesn't necessarily. I think he's glad. I think he's glad in a way he went on this adventure, right? Because
of all that he's learned.
At least I sense that.
Yeah. So maybe that's what Gandalf was talking about, because it's someone who was so hesitant and didn't want to go in the first place, and now coming back and looking back on it, he's thankful for the experience. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying. Like, he's just more reflective than he was before, right? Like he's not just like sitting on every days and just centered around the Shire, but he's got a more adventurous spirit, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
He's still glad to be home, but he's seen so much more now.
He has, and I mean, he can't help but be changed.
Right.
I get that, but there wasn't really anything in the song, I guess, per se, that made me realize that he had changed. That's all.
Okay. Well, Gandalf disagrees with you.
Well, clearly,
so
and Gandalf is always right. So
deal
I'm
with
just gonna have to tip my cap to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Gandalf, the sunglasses come down on Gandalf, and he's like, "Deal with it."
Deal with it.
Bilbo's changed. Yeah. So he arrives back, and lo and behold, an auction is underway in Bag End, because they assume that Bilbo is dead. And
okay, so how long has he been gone now? About a year or more?
Yeah, about a year. Because
it's June.
Right.
I'm trying to remember when they actually left.
It's
probably been. I mean, it hasn't been more than a year and a half. Right?
I don't believe so.
That's probably a moot point, but I'm just trying to get some perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Because it's nice weather when they leave, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get to be, so once they reach the Lonely Mountain, that's when winter starts.
Right.
So yeah, it's probably been about a year.
Let's see here. Let's see if we can.
That's a long time, but I mean, that is a long time for something to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
But still rather presumptuous on the part of his kin to go and auction off.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can figure this out. Let's see. Timeline.
It says April.
He left in April?
It was April. Well, that's when the dwarves came to his home. Yeah. It said the dark came into the room and the little window that opened in the side of the hill. The firelight flickered. It was April. And still they played on. So they left in April. And now it's June. So we're talking like a year and a couple months.
Yeah, a little over a year.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is a while for someone to be gone, but I still don't think it's right for them to just auction off his stuff.
Right.
I mean, did they even look for a will or some kind of, No,
I think this was more of just like a common law sort of, he's presumed dead because nobody's seen him in this amount of time. And so we'll just auction off all his stuff.
Well, shame on them.
Yeah.
People are gone for much longer and come back just fine.
I was trying to make sense of this. It says, in short, Bilbo is presumed dead, and not everybody that said so was sorry to find the presumption wrong. That's a weird saying to me. I was trying to do the math on that. Not everybody
that said
so. Many people said that they were sorry to find that the presumption was wrong, which is that in itself is just an ambiguous way of putting it, because it's like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they were sorry to find that he was that he
Still
wasn't
alive.
dead.
Yeah.
Like they were sorry to find he was still
Yeah,
alive, or they were just
that's
sorry
how I
they
read
presumed that. Right? So
I
it must
see.
be like they were sorry that I'm so sorry we presumed you were dead. Right? And
well, the greedy folk among them probably were sad
and then
to
those
see him
people,
come home.
that's what Tolkien is saying here.
Yeah.
It's not everybody that said they were sorry for presuming he was dead was truly sorry.
Right.
Right. They were more sorry that he wasn't actually dead.
Because they wanted his stuff.
Yes. So
and he has to buy it back, which
right.
is just like, it just seems so wrong.
Well, a lot of it he has to buy back because, that's what would happen, right? I mean, how are you going to get all the stuff back?
If people have paid for it,
They won't necessarily have a record of, of everything that was sold at the auction and who took it. So how do you track it all down, right?
Yeah, that's true. Poor Bilbo, as if he hasn't been through enough.
The funny thing to me is that some people aren't convinced it's really him.
Yeah, they think he's... Well, I guess so. As Gandalf said, he has changed.
Yeah.
But how... Like, what do they think he is? Like I mean, he doesn't look that... But he doesn't look that different, does he?
Well, you could see somebody maybe hearing about this auction for Bilbo Baggins, who's presumed dead. No one's seen him.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, oh, no one's seen him. And maybe somebody who's like, been told like, well, you look kind of like him. That lives somewhere else in the Shire, right? But maybe has heard the rumors and then shows up and is like, here I am to get all of this stuff, right?
Yeah, but he still has to buy it back. So there's really nothing in it for him.
That's because there's people, you could just understand. I mean, this is Hobbiton for crying out loud, but so you can understand how things like this become contentious legal matters in our society, right? Like it's the same. It's always the same, right?
Yeah.
People are just like, I don't believe it, and I'm going to contest it, right? I refuse to give this stuff back. I bought it fair and square. They might make all kinds of arguments about it instead of just being like, oh, I'm glad to see you here alive. Here's your stuff. Right.
Yeah, I guess I expect if that's going to happen anywhere, I expect that to happen in Hobbiton.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe it's just I have too high of a view of hobbits. I don't know. But I feel like if I bought something, well, I don't know. I shouldn't say this, but I just feel like if you took I don't know.
Well, I think it speaks to a lot of like what people had. People had their eyes on things for a long time, right?
Right.
Ooh,
and he still doesn't get his silver spoons back. Well, those disappeared.
And the case in point here is the Sackville Bagginses, his cousins, right?
Not good people.
Because they wanted Baggin for themselves.
Yeah, they wanted to live in his nice hobbit hole so very much.
Right. So, it's I think it's the nature of like kind of envy,
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, envious that he has all this stuff and they don't. So they're hoping for the worst for him. So they profit from it.
Yeah, that's too bad.
But what's interesting is it says that he didn't just lose, he lost more than spoons, but the big thing is that he lost his reputation, right?
Yeah, that's really sad.
No more is Bilbo kind of looked upon as this nice, safe, comfortable hobbit who doesn't get into adventures. But now he is looked at as a very suspect individual.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Spending all of his time hanging out with wizards and dwarves, and now he's an elf friend. People just don't know what to make of him.
See, I think,
except for his nephews and nieces on the Took side,
right? They're the adventurers,
right?
See, I would think that he would be like the cool guy now, like you don't
understand Hobbit society.
Apparently, I don't, because I think of world travelers and people that have had cool experiences and adventures. Like those are the people I'm going to invite to my party.
Well, but
I want to hear their stories.
It does say that the Tooks are the one, like his nephews and nieces on the Took side are the exception to that.
Yeah.
That they kind of think that stuff's cool.
Yeah. So I guess they're just not your typical hobbits. Right. Yeah.
But the Tookish side was always the side of him that was, that was prone to adventures anyway. Right. That's the story. What's interesting about that though is that Frodo would not be on the Took side. I don't think. I believe Frodo would have been on the. Frodo's a Baggin, so I think he would have been on the Baggin side of things, which would have meant he was more comfortable. But even still, he was given to adventures. Do I have that right? I feel like I got to look up a.
You need to look at the family tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. Because his last name was Baggins, not Took.
Yeah, let's see here.
Although, wait, did he?
Frodo, the child of the respectable Drogo Baggins and Primula Brandybuck, was born. Yeah.
Yeah, so he doesn't have any Took in him.
and he goes to live with the Brandybucks. He grew up under the guardianship of the master of Buckland, Roramac, Goldfather Brandybuck, who was his uncle. Frodo was a bit of a troublesome lad. He once caught stealing mushrooms. Frodo stayed in Buckland until his uncle Bilbo adopted him and took him to live at Bag End, Bilbo's estate in Hobbiton. So he eventually does, but he's on the Bag End side of Bilbo's family. So he's not amongst those took.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
He's a what's the word I'm looking for? A rare specimen.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So
he said that Bilbo spent most of his. What's kind of cool? He sets up his sword on the mantelpiece, and he arranges his coat of mail on a stand in the hall.
He keeps his magic ring secret.
He does. He keeps it secret.
And he takes to writing poetry and visiting the elves.
Yeah. So I guess he is quite changed.
Yeah, he is. He's not just, every day isn't just about hanging around Bag End doing the same old thing, right? He likes now to go off on adventures and, maybe not as grand adventures as before, but he does go and visit the elves, which means he has to travel through wild land.
Yeah, that's true.
And, he's just more of an open spirit. So maybe that's what Gandalf is referring to. Maybe Gandalf sensed that in him.
Yeah, he's just, freer.
He's got a little bit of the wanderer in him now.
He does, yeah, and that's cool. And it's sad that few believed any of his tales.
Right.
But you know what? It says he remained very happy.
Yeah.
So good for him for not caring what other people thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a little kind of postscript here. It says, one autumn evening, years afterwards, Bilbo was sitting in his study writing his memoirs. He thought of calling them There and Back Again, a Hobbit's Holiday, when there was a ring at the door. It was Gandalf and a dwarf, and the dwarf was actually Balin. So Balin and Gandalf show up, and they have a nice little time together, nice little visit. And we find out that things back in the east are going well. The mountain, Dale, Lake Town, all kind of getting back to former glories. And we also find out a little bit about the old master of Lake Town, that he'd come to a bad end. It turns out Bard had given him much gold for the help of the lake people, but being of the kind that easily catches such disease, he fell under the dragon sickness, and took most of the gold and fled with it, and died of starvation in the waste, deserted by his companions. So
How ironic.
Yeah, we always knew that the master was not good people.
Yeah, we knew he was bad news, yeah. But to die of starvation while having all that gold, I mean, that's just so backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows that you can have all the gold you want, right? But if you don't have, just the very basic resources necessary for survival, it's going to do you no good.
Absolutely. So the new master of Lake Town is very kind, is much wiser, and
so is it Bard? Is Bard the new master?
Bard is the king of Dale.
I thought we were talking. What master are they talking about?
Just the new master of Lake Town.
Of Lake Town.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bard had rebuilt the town in Dale, and men had gathered to him from the lake and from south and west, and all the valleys had become tilled again and rich. And the desolation was now filled with birds and blossoms in spring and fruit and feasting in autumn. Right, so Bard, that's my understanding, is that Bard became the king of Lake Town. In fact, I think that's confirmed by Lord
Bard
of the Rings.
Became the king
I'm
of
sorry,
Dale,
of Dale. Of Dale. That's what I meant.
Okay. But he did originally live in Lake Town.
Yes, because no one lived in Dale, but he was descended from the king of Dale.
I see. Yes. Okay.
He was later the restored king of Dale. Yeah.
Okay. So the new master is the master of Lake Town. Bard is the king of Dale. We never learn the name of the master of Lake Town.
No, not the new. I don't believe we do. Maybe there's an allusion to it in Lord of the Rings, but it doesn't come to mind right now.
Okay.
So.
All right. No worries.
Yeah. So and it says, and then Balin says they are making songs which say that in this new master's day, this rivers run with gold, which of course is the song that was sung, the prophetic song that was sung by the people of Lake Town earlier in the book. And Bilbo's comment to that is, then the prophecies of the old songs have turned out to be true after a fashion. And I really like what Gandalf has to say here. He says, of course. And why should not they prove true? Surely you don't disbelieve the prophecies because you had a hand in bringing them about yourself. You don't really suppose, do you, that all your adventures and escapes were managed by mere luck, just for your sole benefit? You are a very fine person, Mr. Baggins, and I am very fond of you. but you are only quite a little fellow in a wide world after all. Of course, Bilbo's response to that is to say thank goodness and smoke more tobacco, which is very fitting. But I really like what Gandalf has to say there, right? That just because you sing these songs and that you had a hand in bringing them about, do you think that like that makes them any less true, right? No, not at all, right? Like
right, you were used.
Right.
You were used to help bring the prophecy about. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the significance here is that it shows Bilbo's, it reminds Bilbo of his smallness, right? That he was just a part player in this grander story, right? Yeah. And that doesn't make his story any less important, but it means that he was playing a part in a much larger story. Right. Which I think is, one of the big takeaways from The Hobbit in the first place is that it's a story that starts out very focused on one individual. But even from the beginning, there's others who have stories that he becomes a part of.
Yeah.
And so while the main thread follows him all the way through, there's so many other things going on at the same time.
Yeah, he gets a kind of look back at he gets a little glimpse of the big picture here. Yeah. And it's a really nice lead-in, again, to the Fellowship, right? Which is the first of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because, it's like, you are your own person, but it's really only in community or in fellowship with others that we're able to accomplish the purposes for which we've been ordained.
Absolutely. And on that note, on the note of final words, so that's Gandalf's final word on the matter. And I also wanted to read Tolkien's own reflection from a letter to Milton Waldman on the significance of the story, the central theme of The Hobbit. And this is from an undated letter, presumably 1951. This may be just the Waldman letter, a little snippet from the Waldman letter, but I'm getting it from the Annotated Hobbit. He says, "In effect, this is the study of simple, ordinary man, neither artistic nor noble and heroic, but not without the undeveloped seeds of those things against a high setting. And in fact, as a critic has perceived, the tone and style change with the Hobbit's development, passing from fairy tale to the noble and high and relapsing with the return." So for Tolkien, the whole, really how he summarized the theme of the story is it's about an ordinary man being drawn up into a bigger story, right? Into a much bigger story.
Yeah. And it's a very biblical theme as well, right? I mean, using the small to do big things.
Yeah. Well, that's all throughout that's a, classic sort of story, right?
It is.
It's all throughout the Waldman letter. He mentions that theme with regard to even, Beren and Luthien, although Beren wasn't exactly a normal man. It's still like kind of, it's your classic, what we might call underdog story, right? That, here's somebody who nobody really thinks much of, and it turns out he's one of the most important players in the story, in this bigger story, and accomplishing bigger things. So there you go from the author himself, and I think that's a fitting place to end our discussion.
Yeah, I would agree. Good stuff.
All right. Well, that's it, people. The Hobbit.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do some haiku, shall we?
Yes. Let's.
All righty.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 syllables in haiku.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 syllables in haiku.
Boom. All right. Rock, paper, scissors. Here we come.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, you win.
I'll go first.
Righty, Rudy.
Each journey must end, yet the prophet speaks. Roads go ever, ever on.
Oh, that's good. Prophet. Well done. Mine is actually kind of similar. Here's mine. Ever, ever on goes the road Though it lead home, the journey remains.
Oh. We kind of flipped.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, that's funny.
That is funny because my first line was your last line, and I used the word journey. Yeah, we actually did. That's a little creepy. That is too funny.
Yeah, that's weird. Funny.
It is. They're like mirror.
Funny
mirror
little coincidence.
haikus.
Yeah.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, I forgot that there was one piece of correspondence I wanted to share that was relevant to the last episode that I forgot to share on that episode. So I wanted to share this. This is from Eric Olson, and he had sent this a few months back in April, and he said he acknowledged that it was about 8 episodes too early, but he said, when do Aragorn and Bilbo first meet? Although unnamed, in the return journey, a man striding forward finds Bilbo, and he was sent by Gandalf.
Yes, when I read that earlier, I meant to say something. I said striding forward. I was like, is that Strider? Is that Aragorn? Yeah,
so this is referring to the beginning of chapter 18, the return journey, and it says, let's see.
Yeah, it's right at the beginning.
Is it? Well,
it's the guy that finds him laying on the rock.
Suddenly he was aware of a man climbing up and coming towards him. I see coming towards him. I don't see striding towards him.
I think mine said striding.
Striding forward?
Striding forward. Hold on. Where is it? The return journey?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, mine says coming towards him, but I thought mine said striding forward as well.
Maybe it's another part in here.
Oh yeah, here it is. It is well that I have found you, said the man, striding forward.
There we go.
You are needed, and we have looked for you long.
Yeah, that is interesting. So Eric had speculated that was a reference to Aragorn, because of course Aragorn's nickname is Strider. But then I think I got another note from Eric later on and said, and he actually gave a haiku, so I'm going to read this haiku. He said, a man striding forward finds Bilbo sent by Gandalf, and he glitters not.
Mm-hmm. Good. I like that.
So, but then I think he followed up with a note later. I think Eric did. So let me see if I can find that. And I think he said that it wasn't him. He confirmed that. Oh, he said, sadly, my theory doesn't hold water. Aragorn was 10 in 2941, and it was his father. And his father died in 2933. Just a nameless man, at least a ranger. Someone Gandalf would trust to do the job well.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Definitely.
Well, good thought.
So
good
sorry for not revisiting that in last episode, Eric. But appreciate hearing from you and reaching out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an interesting thought. I mean, it really was.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
That occurred to me as well. Just funny.
It would not have surprised me to learn that it was. I guess it was. I should say it would have surprised me a little bit to learn that it was, but in a good way. Always fun to maybe think that we found some little connections like that. So, and also a note from Joe Towns, our Tasmanian friend.
Hey, Joe.
And he just wanted to say he sent us a couple of poems, which I might read on a future episode. So I'm going to tuck those away, star them for follow-up. But he sent us a short note to recommend the dramatized audiobooks of The Lord of the Rings by BBC. He just wanted to say that they're pretty good. There's something I've always heard. Those are something I've always heard good things about, and I've never listened to. But I may pick them up at some point for a long trip or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, especially since I can't get our kids to actually read The Lord of the Rings, kills me. This is, this obviously that would happen, right?
Of course.
That my own children won't read Lord of the... I mean, I think they will eventually.
To their credit, you didn't read Lord of the Rings when you were their age either.
That's true. For a lot of kids, it can be a challenging
and they have read
book.
The Hobbit. At least the oldest two have.
Yeah.
So that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll get there.
Right on. So always good to hear from you, Joe. All right. I think that's it.
Is that it?
I think that's it.
All right.
That's a wrap.
All right.
Well,
Very good.
Don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes, 5-star rating, or whatever your podcast listening app of choice is. And thanks again to our patrons. You all rock.
Yeah, you guys are the best. Thanks again to our patrons, Al Taylor,
Andrew Herbert,
Andrew Thomas,
Azia Vayner,
Bethany Engler,
Brendan Corkery,
Brian Orr,
Kat Lane,
Chris Loftus,
Chuck Farnung,
Daniel Delaney,
David Bigwood,
Emilio Perea,
Eric Bissett,
Hunter Johns,
Ish of the Hammer,
James Applegate,
James Lindberg,
Joe Towns,
John Rice,
Josh Sosa,
Margaret Lyon,
Matt Scarrance,
Robert Franks,
Sarah Murphy,
Shannon Stockbridge,
Teresa Colangelo,
Travis Lawheed,
Ty Miller,
Dr. William Hutton.
Zeke Farmer.
That's right.
Thank you guys.
You guys rock. And we got a lot of good stuff coming up in the near future. So, we're done with the book of The Hobbit, but we still got a lot to talk about related to The Hobbit, including the last Peter Jackson film, Battle of the Five Armies, which we will be watching soon. And again, hey, if you're a patron already, you're going to get early access to that a lot sooner than everybody, probably like 2 weeks out from everybody else, right? So if you want to listen to our discussion of that sooner rather than later, just head on over and patronize us, right? And we're also going to be watching the Hobbit animated film from the 70s. Oh,
yeah, that's right.
And having a good discussion about that. And then some other really cool stuff. Let's see if I can find my little game plan here. So before we do launch into our next big thing, we're going to do The Quest for Erebor from Unfinished Tales. We're going to talk about the lost chapters from Tolkien's rewrite of The Hobbit. And I've got this Hobbit graphic novel that I've been wanting to read, so we're gonna look at that too, and
neato.
And discuss that. And there's some possible interviews I'm thinking about doing, and some other things as well before we even move on to to other things. So a lot more actually to come on The Hobbit, but this is of course the end of the book itself.
Yeah.
So
well, it was great.
We've enjoyed the journey with you all
very much. But remember, this is not the end.
No, not at all.
It's only the beginning, because the road goes ever on.
Goes ever on. The Tolkien road, that is.
Yeah, you know it.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, thank you, guys.
We will talk at you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.